Hey guys, it's Jang again from ultimaterc.com with a quick mini review of an object that I just received in the mail moments ago. It's this /4x4 Undertray by Proline. I'm just going to go ahead and rip open the bag and have a look at it. What this thing does, looking at it from the underside, is it gives you full protection from the front bulkhead all the way to the rear bulkhead. Just a continuous line of Lexan there, goes all the way up the sides, and then you actually have these high sidewalls that make it more than an under tray, but it actually becomes a little bit of a side dust and dirt guard as well. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this out a little bit and mount it up onto my /4x4 back here before I paint it, because I want to see if there are any different ways to cut it other than the suggested trim lines that come pre-molded into the body. Okay, this Lexan is thick. I think it's like 0.06 inch or something like that. It is tough to cut through. For some of the details, like up around the front where it goes around the steering bell cranks, I just had to resort to using a Dremel, because using these little Lexan scissors just was not cutting it at all. The cut lines, I tried to get creative with where I cut it to see if I could leave some extra material on there for even more protection. Nah, didn't work out. Don't bother. The cut lines that they suggest on there are actually very well chosen, well placed. So when you're cutting this out, go ahead and use those exactly. And now I'm just going to go wash this and paint it. This thing is painted! What? Too much? Okay. So now you can actually see it on camera, now that it's painted up. And it looks like I just painted it all black, but I actually didn't. I painted it first from the inside with, to me, a gunmetal gray, and then backed that with black. And then I went around to the outside, took the overspray film off, and then put a light coat of black on the outside also. So the net result of that is that as I get all scratched up from running over the rocks and stuff, all of the scratched out areas will have a little gunmetal gray look to them, so it should help with a little bit more realistic looking weathering, hopefully. We'll see. Now, time to go mount this up on the chassis. So this thing did not come with instructions, and honestly it should have. It's not immediately obvious exactly what you need to do to install this onto your chassis. I'll try to walk you through. This is my first time doing it, so I'll try to walk you through to the best of my ability what I figured out. There are some dimples molded into the body, or the under tray, that suggest cut out holes here. So I went ahead and cut those. There's 4 in the rear, 2 in the front, and this notch right here is meant to match the underside of the front bumper. So for prep, also there's spots on the side to go and mount your Nerf bars on top of. Now I'm not running Nerf bars on this vehicle right here, but if you were running those, you need to take those off completely before doing the installation. And then I've gone ahead and taken out all of the screws on the bottom of the chassis. Just the 4 here at the very lowest point underneath the rear diff, and the 5 underneath the front diff. The trick to this is putting the rear on first. Just squishing it on up in there. And then up front, you're going to need to take these 2 wings and bend them out like this to get around the steering links. Then you can push it straight down, push this in again, and pull the bumper out so that the front can fit under the bumper. Push the front down, it snaps around the outside, and I believe that's how it's supposed to go, but there's not quite enough cut off from the under tray for for the front 2 screws. So I'm going to have to pull this back out and trim a little bit off. There's that. Now I can get to all those. And then if you had Nerf bars, like most people do, you would just install those directly from the outside, and the screws would go right through the holes that are pre-marked on the chassis. So I just didn't cut those out at all. And I'm just gonna push this in, and that's what it's gonna look like from the side. So now it's time to head out to the field and try this thing out. So I took it out to a lot that's nice and dry and dusty and dirty and all covered with fairly small pea gravel, and just gave it a thrashing for literally a few minutes, just a few minutes. And when I brought it back, took the body off, this is what I was greeted by. All that gravel just from a few minutes of driving, all inside my chassis. Quite a lot of it. And of course, thanks to Murphy's Law, there's always one single rock that gets right into your slipper adjuster nut and gets stuck there. But at least it looks good from the underside. Hey. So, Proline, I love you guys. I've been a repeat customer of yours for literally a decade now, and I'm sure I will continue to be a repeat customer for many decades to come. You make great products. This /4x4 Undertray is not one of them. It does not work. I do not recommend this to anybody who owns a /4x4, honestly, because it just doesn't do its job, as you clearly saw. I'm sure there are some folks out there who are going to buy it and be like, oh yeah man, it's awesome, it keeps everything out of my chassis, I never have to clean my chassis, I never have to clean my bearings, it's the answer to everything. It's not. I did it myself, I used it, I tried it, and it's just not acceptable. The amount of stuff that it still allows to get in, I might as well have not been using it at all. I will continue to use my J Concepts Overtray because that actually does keep stuff out of the chassis reliably. It does increase temperatures just a little bit, but I can deal with that by gearing, using a heat sink, things like that. This piece of Lexan right here is a very expensive piece of Lexan that does nothing but look interesting. Actually, it doesn't even look interesting. Nah, don't buy this. Bye. So I thought it was over, and I just went out after filming to go clean out all the rocks and stuff from this poor chassis, and I realized that not only was there all that stuff just piled up inside of the chassis, but now, thanks to the Overtray, or the Undertray, all these gaps around the edges act as a scoop, and they collect rocks. So rocks are actually going down, rocks and dust, down underneath here and collecting inside of the Undertray, pulling up under here, pulling up under here, getting stuck between the chassis and the Undertray. So it actually took more work to clean up my truck afterwards running the Undertray than it did running nothing at all. Again, don't buy this.